Settle in, friend, and let me tell you about how love found two broken souls in the frozen heart of Texas, winter of 1865. Emma Wade was stuck waist-deep in frozen mud when she first laid eyes on Isaac Matthews, and the man had the nerve to laugh. Not a polite chuckle behind his hand, but a full, rich laugh that echoed across the barren Texas landscape. She wanted to shoot him. She would have, if her pistol was not buried somewhere in the overturned wagon behind her. The whole mess started 3 weeks earlier, when Emma received the letter from Thomas Wade, a rancher in the Texas Panhandle. He needed a wife. She needed to escape Boston and a father determined to marry her off to his business partner, a man twice her age with wandering hands. The arrangement seemed simple. Marry a stranger, start fresh out west. She never expected to arrive and find the man dead. Thomas Wade had been killed in a riding accident 2 days before her stagecoach arrived. The lawyer who met her at the stage stop was apologetic but firm. The property belonged to Thomas's cousin now, a man named Malachi Hargrove. Emma had no claim, no rights, nowhere to go. The stage back east would not come for another month. She had $17 to her name, and winter closing in fast. That is when she made the foolish decision to drive the wagon herself to the Wade Ranch. Maybe she could reason with this cousin, ask for temporary shelter until spring. The road was harder than she expected, the wagon heavier, and when the wheel hit a patch of ice and mud, everything went sideways, literally, which brought her to this moment, covered in frozen muck, exhausted and furious, glaring up at the most infuriatingly handsome man she had ever seen. Isaac Matthews wiped tears from his eyes, still chuckling. He was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark blonde hair that needed a trim, and several days of stubble shadowing a strong jaw. His gray Confederate officer coat was worn, but well-maintained, and those warm brown eyes danced with amusement. You planning to help? Or just stand there, enjoying yourself? Emma snapped, trying again to pull herself free. The mud sucked at her skirts, held her fast. "Oh, I am enjoying myself," he admitted, pushing off from the fence post. "But I suppose I should lend a hand before you freeze to death." He walked closer, his boots crunching on frozen ground, and extended one large hand down to her. "Come on then." Emma hesitated. She did not want his help. She wanted to do this herself, prove she could manage. But her fingers were going numb, and pride would not keep her warm tonight. She reached up and grasped his hand. His grip was strong, calloused, warm despite the cold. He pulled, and she pushed with her legs, and suddenly she was free, stumbling forward into him. His other arm came around her waist to steady her, and for a moment they stood close, her hands braced against his chest, his arm solid around her. She could feel the heat of him through their clothes, smell leather and wood smoke and something distinctly male. Their eyes met. His amusement faded, replaced by something warmer, more intense. Her breath caught. Then, reality crashed back, and she shoved away from him, nearly falling again. "Thank you," she managed stiffly, trying to wipe mud from her dress with frozen fingers. It was hopeless. She was covered head to toe. "You are Emma Wade," he said. It was not a question. Thomas's mail-order bride. "I was supposed to be," she corrected. "Now I am just Emma Wade, stranded in Texas with no husband, no home, and no prospects." Bitterness crept into her voice. The lawyer said Thomas's cousin inherits everything. I have nothing. Isaac studied her for a long moment, something shifting in his expression. Malachi Hargrove is a snake, he said quietly. And Thomas Wade was a good man who deserved better than dying before he could meet you. You knew him? I worked for him. Helped him build that ranch up from nothing. He talked about you constantly the last few weeks, excited as a kid at Christmas. Isaac looked away, jaw tight. He was a friend. One of the few who did not care that I fought for the Confederacy. The war. Of course. It had only been 6 months since Lee surrendered at Appomattox. The country was still bleeding, still divided. Emma had seen the hatred in Boston, the celebrations mixed with mourning. She could only imagine what it was like out here, where the losses felt more personal. I am sorry for your loss, she said softly, and I am sorry to intrude. I should not have come here. I just did not know where else to go. The ranch is 2 miles north, Isaac said, nodding in that direction. But I would not advise showing up tonight. Malachi moved in the day after Thomas died, brought his whole crew with him. They are not friendly to strangers, especially pretty ones traveling alone. Pretty. The word sent an unexpected flutter through her chest. She squashed it firmly. Now was not the time for foolish attraction to a stranger, no matter how handsome or helpful. Then what do you suggest? Emma asked. I cannot stay out here. I will freeze. Isaac looked at her, then at the overturned wagon, then back at her. She could see him weighing options, making calculations. Finally, he sighed. I have a cabin about a mile west. Small, but it has a fireplace and a roof that does not leak. You can stay there tonight, get warm and dry. Tomorrow, we figure out what comes next. Emma's first instinct was to refuse. Going anywhere alone with a strange man was dangerous, possibly deadly. But she looked at the darkening sky, felt the bite of wind through her wet clothes, and knew she had no choice. Freeze to death maintaining propriety, or trust this stranger and live to see morning. Why would you help me? She asked. You do not know me. Because Thomas would have wanted me to, Isaac said simply. And because no one deserves to die alone in the cold. Something flickered in his eyes, old pain briefly visible. I will be a gentleman, Miss Wade. You have my word. She believed him. She did not know why, but she did. Maybe it was the steadiness in his voice, or the way he had not leered at her despite her disheveled state. Maybe it was desperation. Either way, she nodded. All right. Thank you. Can you ride? He asked, nodding toward a black horse tied nearby. Yes. Good. I will get what you need from the wagon, then we ride. Leave the rest. We can come back for it tomorrow, if you decide to stay. If you decide to stay. The words hung between them, full of unspoken possibility. 20 minutes later, Emma sat in front of Isaac's fireplace, wrapped in a blanket, her wet clothes hanging on a line he had strung near the hearth. He had turned his back while she changed into dry things he provided. An old shirt of his that hung to her knees, and a pair of wool socks. It was improper, scandalous even, but it was warm and dry, and that mattered more than propriety right now. The cabin was small, but surprisingly tidy. One room with a stone fireplace, a bed in the corner, a rough table and 2 chairs, shelves holding supplies. Rifles hung above the fireplace. Everything had a place, nothing wasted. A soldier's discipline, she thought. Isaac handed her a tin cup of coffee. Black and strong. She wrapped her cold fingers around it gratefully. "Thank you," she said, "for everything." He nodded, settling into the chair across from her. In the firelight, she could see his face more clearly. He was younger than she first thought, probably early 30s. Handsome in a rough, weathered way, with lines around his eyes that spoke of hard years. There was sadness in him, she realized, something heavy he carried. "Tell me about Thomas," she said quietly. "What was he like?" Isaac's expression softened. "Good man. Honest. He came out here 5 years ago with nothing but a dream and stubborn determination. Built that ranch up acre by acre. He was lonely, though. Wanted a family, someone to share it with. When he decided to send for a bride, he was careful. Wanted a woman who could handle frontier life, who had some steel in her spine." He smiled slightly. "I think he would have liked you." "I wish I had met him," Emma said honestly. "He sounded like a decent man. Better than most I have known." "What about you?" Isaac asked. "What made you leave Boston for a stranger in Texas?" Emma stared into her coffee, debating how much to share. But something about the quiet cabin, the firelight, the way he waited patiently without pushing, made her want to talk. "My father," she said finally. "He is a businessman, wealthy but cold. My mother died when I was 12. After that, I was just another asset to manage, another piece in his business dealings. He wanted me to marry his partner, a man named Charles Whitmore. Charles is 53, twice widowed, with wandering hands and a cruel mouth." She shuddered at the memory. "I refused. Father said I had no choice. So I found one. Thomas's advertisement was in the paper. I wrote to him, he wrote back, and 3 months later I was on a train heading west." "Running away," Isaac said. But there was no judgment in his voice. "Yes," she admitted. "Running toward something too, I hoped. A chance at a real life, maybe even happiness. Now I have nothing. Again." "Not nothing," Isaac said quietly. "You have yourself, your strength. That is more than most people have." Their eyes met across the fire, and Emma felt that flutter again, stronger this time. She looked away first, uncomfortable with the intensity. "What about you?" she asked. "What brought you to Texas?" Isaac's jaw tightened. He was silent so long she thought he would not answer. Then he spoke, voice low and rough. "I did things in the war I cannot take back. Followed orders I should have questioned. Good men died because of my decisions. When it ended, I could not go home. Could not face the people who knew me before, who remembered who I used to be, so I drifted west, looking for somewhere no one knew my name or my past. Thomas hired me without asking questions, gave me a chance to be someone different." "You carry guilt," Emma said softly. "I can see it." "I should," he replied. "What I did deserves it." "We all have things we wish we could change," Emma said. "The question is what we do now, who we choose to be today, not who we were yesterday." Isaac looked at her with something like wonder. "You sound like Thomas. He used to say almost the same thing." "Maybe that is why he chose me," Emma said with a small smile. "Maybe he knew we would understand each other." The fire crackled between them, warm and steady. Outside, wind howled around the cabin, but inside, it felt safe. Emma found herself relaxing for the first time in weeks, the tension bleeding out of her shoulders. "What will you do?" Isaac asked. "Tomorrow, I mean. Where will you go?" "I do not know," Emma admitted. "I cannot afford passage back east, even if I wanted to go. And I do not. But I have no claim on Thomas's ranch, no legal standing. Malachi Hargrove will not help me." The lawyer made that clear. "Malachi is a bastard," Isaac said bluntly. "Pardon my language. But it is true. He and Thomas hated each other. Malachi wanted that land for years. Tried to buy it cheap when Thomas was starting out. Thomas refused. Now Malachi has it anyway, and he will do anything to keep it." "Why does he want it so badly?" Emma asked. "It is just a ranch. There are hundreds of ranches in Texas." Isaac hesitated, and Emma saw something flicker across his face. Knowledge. A secret. "Isaac?" she prompted. He seemed to wrestle with himself, then sighed. "I am going to tell you something Thomas told me in confidence. He made me swear not to share it with anyone. But he is gone, and you were supposed to be his wife. You have a right to know." Emma leaned forward, heart beating faster. "There is gold on that property," Isaac said quietly. "Hidden gold. Thomas's grandfather buried it during the Mexican War. Never told anyone where. On his deathbed, he told Thomas. Thomas spent 2 years searching, and 6 months ago he found it. A cache worth thousands. He was planning to use it to expand the ranch, maybe start a herd, build a real home for you. He told me because he wanted someone he trusted to know, in case something happened to him." Emma's mind raced. "Does Malachi know?" "I do not think so. Thomas was careful. But Malachi is not stupid. He knows his uncle had money somewhere. That is why he is so determined to keep the property. He is probably tearing the place apart looking for it right now." "Where is it hidden?" "I do not know exactly," Isaac admitted. "Thomas showed me the general area but not the specific spot. He wanted to wait until you arrived, show you together. It is somewhere near the old oak tree behind the house, buried deep." Emma's heart pounded. Gold. Enough to start over, to build a life. But it was on property she had no claim to, guarded by a man who would not hesitate to harm her if he knew she was a threat. "What if we found it?" she said slowly. "What if we got to it before Malachi does?" Isaac stared at her. "That is stealing." "From a man who stole it first," Emma countered. "That gold was supposed to be mine. Thomas intended it for me, for us, for our future. Malachi has no more right to it than I do. Less, actually." "It is dangerous," Isaac warned. "If Malachi catches us, he will kill us. He has 4 men working for him, all armed and mean." "I know," Emma said. "But what choice do I have? Go back east with nothing? Starve here, waiting for charity? I came to Texas for a new life. That gold could give me one. Give us both one. Us." The word hung in the air between them, full of possibility neither dared examine too closely. Isaac rubbed his face with both hands, clearly torn. "You are asking me to betray my friend's trust, steal from his cousin, and risk both our lives in the process. I am asking you to help me claim what is rightfully mine," Emma said firmly. "Thomas wanted me to have that gold. He wanted me to have a future. You said he was your friend. Honor his wishes. Help me." Their eyes locked across the fire, and Emma saw the moment he decided. Saw the resolve harden in his expression, the way his jaw set with determination. "All right," he said finally. "I will help you. But we do this smart. We plan. We wait for the right moment. And we do not take foolish risks. Agreed?" "Agreed," Emma said, relief flooding through her. Then, quieter. "Thank you, Isaac. I know this is not easy for you." "Nothing worth doing ever is," he replied. Then he smiled, and it transformed his face, made him even more handsome. "Besides, I cannot let you get stuck in the mud again. Someone has to keep you out of trouble." Emma laughed despite everything, the sound surprising them both. When was the last time she laughed? Weeks? Months? It felt good. "Get some rest," Isaac said, standing. "You take the bed. I will sleep by the fire." "I cannot take your bed," Emma protested. "You can and you will," Isaac said firmly. "I have slept in worse places, believe me. You need real rest. Tomorrow we start planning, and you will need your strength." Emma wanted to argue, but exhaustion pulled at her like a weight. She nodded, standing and moving to the bed. It was narrow, the blankets rough but clean. She climbed in fully clothed, too tired and too proper to do otherwise. "Good night, Isaac," she said softly. "Good night, Emma," he replied, settling back into his chair by the fire. She closed her eyes, listening to the crackle of the fire and the howl of wind outside. She should be terrified. She was alone with a stranger, planning something dangerous and possibly illegal. But somehow, she felt safer than she had in months. Isaac Matthews was a good man. She could feel it in her bones. Part 1. The Nord or supposed to tea, one space, placed around her. The menting this foy, where there are not her ham. Bliss place where a lost whiles white, out lap tired. Cone like granding it didn't shit out of that thing. Call it how might has done, all the cawing the player door spoons the twice. She woke to the smell of coffee and bacon. For a moment, Emma forgot where she was, confused by the unfamiliar surroundings. Then, memory crashed back. Texas. Thomas's death. The gold. Isaac. She sat up quickly, running fingers through her tangled hair. Through the small window, she could see gray morning light. How long had she slept? Isaac stood at the stove, his back to her, cooking breakfast. He had changed into a clean shirt, his hair damp like he had washed recently. Seeing him in the domestic act of cooking was strangely intimate, and Emma felt heat rise to her cheeks. "Good morning," she said, voice still rough with sleep. He turned, a slight smile on his face. "Morning. Hope you are hungry." "I made extra." "Starving," she admitted, climbing out of bed. Her dress had dried overnight, hanging by the fire. She grabbed it and slipped behind a curtain Isaac had hung in the corner for privacy, changing quickly. When she emerged, he had 2 plates on the table, bacon and eggs, and thick slices of bread. They ate in companionable silence at first. The food simple, but good. Emma could not remember the last time she had eaten a real meal. The stagecoach stops had been sparse, the food barely edible. "I have been thinking," Isaac said finally, pushing his empty plate away. About the gold. Malachi and his men leave the ranch every Tuesday to go into town for supplies. They are gone most of the day. That gives us a window, but it is a narrow one. We would have maybe 5 hours to search, find it, and get clear. How far is it from here to the ranch? Emma asked. 2 miles. 10 minutes on horseback, maybe 15 on foot if we are careful and stay off the road. When is the next Tuesday? Tomorrow. Tomorrow. Emma's stomach clenched with nerves and excitement. So soon. But also, the sooner they acted, the better. Every day Malachi searched increased the chance he would find the gold first. Then we go tomorrow, she said, trying to sound more confident than she felt. Isaac studied her across the table. Are you sure about this? Once we start, there is no going back. If we are caught, the best we can hope for is being run out of Texas. The worst is a bullet. I am sure, Emma said firmly. I did not come all this way to give up at the first obstacle. I want the life Thomas promised me. I want a future, and I think you want one too. Something shifted in Isaac's expression, vulnerability showing through his careful control. I stopped believing I deserved a future a long time ago. Maybe it is time to start believing again, Emma said softly. Their eyes held, and the air between them felt charged, electric. Emma's heart beat faster. This man, this stranger, had shown her more kindness and respect in one night than most men had in a lifetime. And he was handsome, Lord help her, with those warm brown eyes and that strong jaw, and the way he looked at her like she mattered. She looked away first, flustered. Too fast. This was all happening too fast. She barely knew him. She should not be feeling these things. But she did. They spent the morning planning. Isaac drew a rough map of the ranch in the dirt outside the cabin, showing the house, the barn, the old oak tree Thomas had mentioned. Emma studied it carefully, memorizing every detail. They discussed timing, escape routes, what to do if something went wrong. We will take my horse, Isaac said. 2 of us can ride together, and he is fast if we need to run. I have a shovel, rope, and a bag for the gold. We go in, dig fast, get out. No lingering, no risks. What about after? Emma asked. Once we have it, where do we go? Isaac hesitated. There is a town about 30 miles west. Small, mostly miners and drifters. We can sell some of the gold there, get supplies and horses. From there, we head north. Colorado, maybe. Start over somewhere no one knows us. We. He kept saying we, like they were a team now, partners in this. Emma should probably correct him, clarify that once they had the gold she would go her own way. But she did not want to. The thought of facing the future alone suddenly seemed unbearable. And Isaac, despite everything, felt right. Safe. Like maybe Thomas had known what he was doing when he hired this broken soldier to work his ranch. The rest of the day passed in careful preparation. Emma helped Isaac gather supplies, mend tools, ready everything they would need. They worked side by side in comfortable rhythm, and Emma realized she liked this. Liked the partnership, the shared purpose. Her father had never let her help with anything. Said women were decorative, not useful. Charles Whitmore had looked at her like property. But Isaac treated her like an equal, asked her opinion, listened when she spoke. As evening fell and they sat by the fire again, Emma found herself watching him. The way firelight played across his features, highlighting the sharp angle of his jaw, the strength in his hands as he sharpened his knife. He glanced up and caught her staring. She flushed and looked away quickly. "Tell me more about the war," she said, desperate to fill the sudden awkward silence. "If you want to. I mean, you do not have to." Isaac was quiet for a long moment. Then he set the knife aside and leaned back in his chair. "What do you want to know?" "Why you carry so much guilt," Emma said softly. "You were a soldier. You followed orders. That is what soldiers do." "I was more than a soldier," Isaac said, voice low and rough. "I was an officer, captain. I gave the orders others followed. And some of those orders got good men killed. Boys, really. 16, 17 years old, barely old enough to shave, dying in mud and blood because I made the wrong call." "You could not have known," Emma said. "I should have," Isaac insisted. "That was my job. To know. To protect them. And I failed. At Shiloh, I sent a company to flank enemy lines. They walked straight into an ambush. 23 men. Only 4 came back. I can still hear their screams." His hands clenched into fists. "How do you live with that? How do you forgive yourself?" Emma leaned forward, reaching across the space between them to touch his hand gently. He went still at the contact, staring down at her small hand on his. "You live by choosing to be better today than you were yesterday," she said quietly. "By helping people when you can. By being the man you want to be, not the man the war made you. Thomas saw something good in you, Isaac. I see it too. Maybe it is time you saw it in yourself." Isaac looked up at her, and the raw emotion in his eyes made her breath catch. Pain, yes, but also hope. Fragile and tentative, but there. "You barely know me." "I know enough," Emma said. "I know you helped a stranger without asking for anything in return. I know you honor your friend's memory. I know you could have taken advantage of me last night and you did not. That tells me who you are. A good man, Isaac Matthews. Whether you believe it or not." For a moment, they just looked at each other, her hand still on his, the fire crackling between them. Then Isaac turned his hand over, threading his fingers through hers. His hand was so much larger, rough, and calloused, but his touch was gentle. "Thank you," he said quietly, "for saying that, even if I do not deserve it." "You do," Emma insisted. "And tomorrow, we are going to take what is rightfully ours and start building the lives we deserve. Both of us." Isaac smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes, and Emma felt her heart skip. She was in trouble. Deep trouble. Because somewhere between getting stuck in the mud and sitting by this fire, she had started falling for Isaac Matthews. And that terrified her more than any danger they might face tomorrow. They went to bed early, knowing they needed rest for the next day. Emma lay in the narrow bed, listening to Isaac settle by the fire, and thought about the future, about gold and new beginnings, and the handsome broken soldier who made her feel things she had no business feeling. Part 2. Morning came too soon, and not soon enough. Emma woke before dawn, nervous energy thrumming through her veins. Today Today they would retrieve the gold, or die trying. She tried not to think about the second possibility. Isaac was already awake, checking his rifle and pistol with practiced efficiency. He looked up when she stirred, and something passed between them. Determination. Trust. Maybe something more. "Ready?" he asked. "As I will ever be," Emma replied, climbing out of bed and smoothing her dress. She had slept in her clothes again, wanting to be prepared for a quick departure if needed. They ate a hurried breakfast of cold biscuits and coffee, neither speaking much. The weight of what they were about to do hung heavy in the air. Isaac loaded supplies into saddlebags, double-checking everything. Emma watched him work, memorizing the careful way he moved, the concentration on his face. If something went wrong today, she wanted to remember him like this. "Stop thinking like that," Isaac said without looking up. "Like what?" "Like you are saying goodbye," he said, meeting her eyes. "We are going to be fine. In and out, quick and clean. By tonight, we will be miles away with enough gold to start over." Emma nodded, trying to believe him. "You are right. I am sorry. Just nerves." "Nerves are good," Isaac said, walking over to her. "Keeps you sharp, careful. Just do not let them paralyze you. Can you do that?" "Yes," Emma said firmly. "I can do that." Isaac studied her face for a moment, then reached out and tucked a stray piece of hair behind her ear. The gesture was so tender, so intimate, that Emma's breath caught. His fingers lingered for a moment against her cheek, rough and warm. "I am glad you got stuck in that mud," he said softly. "Strange thing to say, I know. But I am glad our paths crossed." Emma waited. "So am I," Emma whispered. "Even if you did laugh at me." Isaac smiled. "I will probably laugh about it for years. If we survive today, I will let you," Emma said, trying to keep her voice light despite the fear coiling in her stomach. "When we survive today," Isaac corrected. Then he stepped back, the moment breaking. Time to go. They rode together on Isaac's black horse, a strong gelding named Shadow. Emma sat in front, Isaac's arms around her as he held the reins. It should have felt awkward, this forced closeness with a man she barely knew. Instead, it felt natural, safe. She could feel the solid warmth of his chest against her back, the steady rhythm of his breathing. The ride to the ranch took 15 minutes, moving carefully through sparse woods and open prairie. The winter landscape was harsh and beautiful, bare trees stark against gray sky, frozen ground crunching under Shadow's hooves. Emma shivered despite her cloak, and Isaac's arms tightened around her slightly, sharing his warmth. As they approached the ranch, Isaac slowed Shadow to a walk, staying in the tree line. Through the bare branches, Emma could see the house Thomas Wade had built. It was larger than Isaac's cabin, a proper 2-story ranch house with a wraparound porch and several outbuildings. Smoke rose from the chimney, but no other movement was visible. "They left about an hour ago," Isaac murmured against her ear, his breath warm. "I watched from the ridge, 4 men on horses, heading toward town. But we still need to be careful. Could have left someone behind as a lookout." Emma nodded, her heart pounding so hard she was sure Isaac could feel it. They waited, watching the house for any sign of life. Minutes stretched like hours. Then Isaac nudged Shadow forward, moving out of the trees toward the back of the property. The old oak tree was massive, ancient its gnarled branches reaching toward the gray sky like twisted fingers. It stood about 100 yards behind the house, near the edge of what looked like a small family cemetery. 3 weathered headstones marked graves beneath the tree's shadow. Isaac dismounted first, then reached up to help Emma down. His hands spanned her waist, strong and sure, lowering her gently to the ground. For a moment, they stood close. His hands still on her waist, her palms on his shoulders. Their eyes met, and Emma saw her own fear and determination reflected back at her. "Let us do this," she said quietly. Isaac nodded, releasing her and moving to untie the shovel from Shadow's saddle. Thomas said it was buried near the roots on the south side, about 3 feet down, marked with a flat stone. They circled the tree, searching. The ground was partially frozen, covered with dead leaves and patches of ice. Emma kicked at leaves, looking for anything that might indicate a marker. Then she saw it. A flat, rectangular stone, slightly different in color from the surrounding earth. "Here," she said, pointing. Isaac came over, studied it, then nodded. "That is it." He handed Emma his pistol. "Keep watch. If you see anyone coming, fire 1 shot and run for Shadow. Do not wait for me. Just run." "I am not leaving you," Emma said firmly. "Emma." "No," she interrupted. "We are in this together. I am not running and leaving you behind. So do not ask me to." Isaac looked like he wanted to argue, but something in her expression stopped him. He nodded once, then turned to the stone and began to dig. The ground was hard, partially frozen, and digging was slow work. Emma kept her eyes on the house, scanning the windows and the tree line beyond for any movement. Every sound made her jump. The creak of a bare branch, the cry of a distant bird, her own breathing, too fast and too loud. Isaac worked methodically, breaking through the frozen surface layer to the softer earth beneath. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the cold. Emma wanted to help, but knew she needed to keep watch. So she stood, pistol clutched in both hands, and prayed they would not be discovered. 20 minutes passed, then 30. Isaac was waist deep in the hole now, dirt piled high around him. Emma's hands cramped from gripping the pistol so tightly. How much longer? What if they were wrong about the location? What if Malachi had already found it? Then she heard the distinctive clink of metal on metal. "I found something," Isaac said, voice tight with excitement and relief. He dropped the shovel and knelt in the hole, brushing dirt away with his hands. Emma risked a glance back and saw him pull out a metal box, about the size of a large bread loaf, heavy enough that he needed both hands to lift it. "Is that it?" Emma asked, hope surging through her chest. "Only one way to find out," Isaac said. He climbed out of the hole and set the box on the ground. It was locked, but Isaac used the shovel blade to pry it open. The lid popped with a screech of protesting metal. Inside, nestled in rotted cloth, were bars of gold. 6 of them, each stamped with military markings. Mexican gold, probably looted during the war and hidden for safekeeping. Each bar had to be worth hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars. Enough to start over anywhere. Enough to build a real life. Emma's breath left her in a rush. "We found it. We actually found it." Isaac grinned, real joy breaking across his face. "We did." He looked up at her, and the happiness in his eyes made him look younger, unburdened. Thomas was right. He wanted this for you, Emma. For your future. Now you have it. Emma knelt beside him, reaching out to touch one of the bars. It was heavy, cold, real. This changed everything. She was not helpless anymore, not dependent on anyone's charity. She had means. She had options. She had freedom. "We have it," she corrected softly, looking at Isaac. "This is yours too. We did this together." "Emma, I cannot." "You can and you will," Emma said firmly, echoing his words from 2 nights ago. "Fair is fair, Isaac. You risked your life for this. You deserve half. Besides, I need a partner. Someone I trust to help me start over. Will you do that? Will you come with me?" Isaac stared at her, something powerful and vulnerable in his expression. "You want me to come with you? Even knowing what I have done? Who I was?" "I want you to come with me because of who you are now," Emma said. "A good man. A brave man. Someone who keeps his promises and protects those who need protecting. That is who I want beside me. If you will have me." The words hung between them, weighted with more meaning than either wanted to examine too closely. Isaac reached out slowly and cupped her face with one large, dirt-stained hand. Emma leaned into the touch, her eyes drifting closed for a moment. "I would be honored," Isaac said roughly, "to stand beside you, to help you build whatever life you want. He stopped, swallowing hard. Emma opened her eyes and saw him struggling with something. Some emotion too big for words. She covered his hand with hers, holding it against her cheek. "I know," she said softly. "Me too." It was too soon for declarations, too fast for promises of forever. But in that moment, kneeling in the dirt beside a hole in the ground with stolen gold between them, Emma felt something click into place. This was right. He was right. Whatever future waited for them, they would face it together. Then Shadow whinnied sharply, ears pricked forward, staring at something beyond the house. Warning. Isaac's head snapped up, his hand dropping from Emma's face as he grabbed his rifle. "Someone is coming. We need to go. Now." He shoved the gold bars into the bag they had brought, yanking the drawstring tight. Emma scooped up the empty box and threw it back in the hole, using her foot to push some dirt over it. Not perfect, but maybe enough to hide what they had done. Isaac was already at Shadow, tying the bag to the saddle. "Come on," he urged, reaching for her. Emma ran to him, and he lifted her onto Shadow with easy strength, then swung up behind her. They were just turning the horse toward the trees when Emma heard it. Voices. Men's voices, coming from the direction of the house. "Someone was here," one voice called. "Fresh tracks, still warm." "Check the oak tree," another voice commanded, harder and colder. That had to be Malachi Hargrove. "Now." Isaac cursed under his breath and kicked Shadow into motion. The horse bolted forward, hooves thundering on frozen ground. Behind them, Emma heard shouts of alarm, then the sharp crack of a rifle shot. The bullet whined past, too close, and Emma ducked instinctively. "Hold on," Isaac growled, and Shadow surged forward even faster, tearing through brush toward the tree line. More shots rang out, splintering bark from trees around them. Shadow never broke stride, trusting Isaac's guidance. Following the path Isaac directed with pressure from his knees. They crashed through the trees, branches whipping past. Emma pressed herself against Isaac's chest, making herself as small as possible. His arm came around her waist, holding her tight against him. She could feel his heart pounding. Or maybe that was her own. More shouts behind them, horses being mounted. They were being pursued. Emma risked a glance back and saw 4 riders bursting from the ranch, pushing their horses hard. Malachi and his men. "Can we outrun them?" Emma asked, fear making her voice shake. "Shadow is fast, but he is carrying 2 people," Isaac said grimly. "It will be close, real close, but we are not giving up that gold. Not after everything." He urged Shadow faster, leaning low over the horse's neck. Emma did the same, gripping Shadow's mane with white-knuckled hands. The winter landscape blurred past them. Behind them, the sound of pursuit grew closer. Malachi's men were gaining. Isaac made quick decisions, turning Shadow down narrow game trails, cutting through thick brush that slowed their pursuers. He knew this land, Emma realized. Knew every hill and hollow, every shortcut and hiding spot. That gave them an advantage, but it might not be enough. They burst out of the trees onto open prairie, and Isaac turned Shadow north, pushing for speed. The horse stretched out, running flat, hooves eating up ground. Emma could hear Shadow's labored breathing, feel the strain in his muscles. He was giving them everything he had. A rifle shot cracked, closer this time. Isaac jerked slightly, and Emma felt warm wetness splash against her neck. "Isaac?" she said, panic rising. "I am all right," he gritted out. "Just grazed my shoulder. Keep going." But Emma could feel the tension in his body now. The way his left arm did not grip quite as tight. He was hit. Not badly, maybe, but bleeding. They needed to get away. Get somewhere safe so she could tend the wound. "There," Isaac said, pointing with his right hand. "That ravine. We can lose them there." Emma saw it. A deep cut in the prairie where a seasonal creek ran through. Isaac angled Shadow toward it, and the horse plunged down the steep bank without hesitation. They hit the bottom hard, Shadow stumbling slightly but keeping his feet. Isaac urged him up the ravine, following the twisting path of the creek bed. The high banks blocked them from view, muffled the sound of hooves. They rode for what felt like hours, but was probably only minutes, following the ravine as it snaked north and west. Behind them, the sounds of pursuit faded. They had done it. They had escaped. Finally, when Shadow's breathing became too labored to continue safely, Isaac slowed him to a walk, then a stop. They sat in silence for a moment, both breathing hard, adrenaline still coursing through their veins. "Are you hurt?" Isaac asked, his voice rough with concern. "No," Emma said. "But you are. I felt the blood. Let me see." "Later," Isaac said. "We need to keep moving. They will search for us. We need to put more distance between us and them." Isaac, Isen more than spust, wad spas, sulast around her. months leech, and then tours run Astraham. Their list place where a lost whiles white, thus that wisp tired. Going let dranding a tententiner. Alles almighty done, all the coin played or spores the twice. Later, Emma, he insisted, but his voice was gentler now. I promise. But right now, we ride. Emma wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. They were not safe yet. So she nodded and let Isaac guide Shadow forward at a slower pace, conserving the horse's strength while still putting distance between them and danger. As they rode through the ravine, the adrenaline began to fade, replaced by a different kind of awareness. They had done it. They had the gold. They had escaped. They were alive. Together, and heading toward a future neither had dared to hope for a week ago. Emma leaned back slightly against Isaac's chest, and his arm tightened around her waist. She felt his breath against her hair, steady now, calming. They had survived. Together, they rode for another hour before Isaac finally agreed to stop. They had emerged from the ravine into a small clearing beside a creek, sheltered by bare cottonwood trees. It was defensible, hidden, and had water. Good enough. Isaac dismounted carefully, his left arm stiff now. Emma slid down after him and immediately went to him, pulling at his coat despite his protests. Let me see, she said firmly. No arguments. Isaac sighed, but let her peel off his coat and vest. His shirt was soaked with blood on the left side. The fabric stuck to his skin. Emma's stomach clenched, but she forced herself to stay calm. She had watched her mother tend injuries before she died, had learned the basics of frontier medicine. She could do this. Sit, she ordered, pointing to a fallen log. Isaac sat, and Emma carefully cut his shirt away from the wound with his knife. The bullet had carved a deep furrow across his shoulder, about 4 inches long. It bled steadily but not dangerously. The bullet had not lodged. That was good. Still, it needed cleaning and bandaging, or infection would set in. This is going to hurt, Emma warned, moving to the creek to soak a cloth in the icy water. I have had worse, Isaac said, but she saw him brace himself. Emma cleaned the wound as gently as she could, but Isaac hissed through his teeth, his jaw clenched tight. She worked quickly, washing away blood and dirt, examining the wound for debris. It was clean, thank God. Just needed bandaging. You were lucky, she said, tearing strips from her petticoat to make bandages. 2 inches to the right, and it would have hit bone. 2 inches down, and it would have been your lung. I know, Isaac said quietly. I have seen enough bullet wounds to know how close that was. Emma wrapped the makeshift bandages around his shoulder, pulling them snug to stop the bleeding. Her hands shook slightly, and she realized how frightened she had been. How frightened she still was. They had nearly died. He had nearly died. Emma, Isaac said softly, catching her hand. Look at me. She did, and the intensity in his eyes made her breath catch. He was shirtless, his chest broad and muscular, but marked with old scars from the war. He was beautiful and broken and alive, and Emma felt a rush of feeling so strong it nearly knocked her over. Thank you, Isaac said, for not leaving me, for staying. You could have run when the shooting started, saved yourself, but you did not. I told you I would not, Emma said, her voice thick with emotion. "We are partners. I do not leave partners behind." Isaac's thumb stroked over her knuckles, the touch gentle despite his calloused hands. "You are an extraordinary woman, Emma Wade. Brave and fierce and stubborn as hell." Emma laughed, the sound watery. "You make stubborn sound like a compliment." "It is," Isaac said seriously. "Out here, stubborn keeps you alive." They were close now. Emma standing between his knees, his hand holding hers, her other hand resting on his uninjured shoulder. She could feel the warmth of his skin, see the gold flecks in his brown eyes, count the days of stubble on his jaw. Her heart pounded, and she knew it was not from fear this time. "Isaac," she whispered, not sure what she wanted to say, only knowing she needed to say something. He reached up with his free hand and cupped her cheek, his touch impossibly gentle. "I know," he said quietly. "I feel it too, this thing between us. Too fast, too soon, too reckless. But it is real." "Yes," Emma breathed. "It is real." He pulled her down slowly, giving her time to pull away, to say no. But Emma did not want to pull away. She wanted this, wanted him, wanted to feel alive and connected to something good after so much loss. So she leaned in and closed the distance between them. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, a question. Then it deepened, and Emma felt heat flood through her body. His hand slid into her hair, loosening her braid, while his other arm came around her waist, pulling her closer. Emma's hands found his chest, feeling the solid warmth of him, the steady beat of his heart. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Isaac pressed his forehead to hers. "We should stop," he said roughly. "Before I forget, I am supposed to be a gentleman." "Maybe I do not want you to be a gentleman right now," Emma said, surprising herself with her boldness. Isaac groaned. "Emma, you are killing me. We cannot. I will not take advantage." "You are not," Emma interrupted. "I want this. I want you. Is that so wrong?" "No," Isaac said, pulling back to look at her seriously. "It is not wrong. But I want to do this right. I want to court you properly, give you time to be sure. You have been through so much. I do not want you to regret anything." Emma's heart swelled at his words. Even now, even with desire clearly written on his face, he was putting her first, protecting her, even from himself. "I will not regret you," she said softly. "But I understand. We will wait. We will do this right." Isaac smiled, and it was like the sun breaking through clouds. He kissed her forehead gently, then her nose, then her lips again, soft and sweet. "Thank you," he murmured, "for understanding, for being patient with me." "Always," Emma said, and realized she meant it. Whatever time it took, however long he needed, she would wait. Because Isaac Matthews was worth waiting for. They spent the night in the clearing, taking turns keeping watch while the others slept. The gold sat between them, a tangible reminder of what they had accomplished and what they still had to do. By morning, they needed to be far away from here, heading toward that mining town Isaac had mentioned. Start selling the gold, buy supplies and horses, disappear into the vastness of the West. Emma took the first watch, sitting with Isaac's rifle across her lap while he slept fitfully beside the small fire she had built. She watched him sleep, this brave, damaged man who had stumbled into her life at exactly the right moment. Or maybe the wrong moment. Maybe there was no right time for love. Only the time you had. Love. The word whispered through her mind, and Emma did not push it away. It was too soon to call it that, too fast to be sure. But it felt like love. Like the beginning of something that could grow into forever, if they were careful and lucky and brave. When Isaac woke to take his watch, Emma curled up by the fire and fell into exhausted sleep. She dreamed of a small cabin somewhere far from here, smoke rising from the chimney, a garden growing wild with vegetables, and Isaac chopping wood in the yard. Simple dreams. Good dreams. Possible dreams, if they survived what came next. Part 3 Handman. Where the supposedly changed requats it was a sight, Celeste around her. Dementing the story, where then a mother who said, "Rus place where lost allows white, in the town to then tie-end." Coming that granding it didn't shout of that lang. Klaus all my has done, all their calming in the planned or spones the tours the stite. They meant provided. They rode north and west for 3 days, moving carefully, avoiding towns and well-traveled roads. The gold weighed heavy in Shadow's saddlebags, a constant reminder of what they carried and what it meant. Isaac's shoulder was healing well, thanks to Emma's careful tending, though he still moved stiffly and could not use his left arm fully yet. At night, they made camp in hidden spots, building small fires and sharing what little food they had. They talked for hours, learning each other's stories, dreams, fears. Emma told him about Boston, about her cold father and the mother she barely remembered. Isaac told her about growing up in Virginia, about the plantation his family owned, and the moral wrestling that led him to question everything he had been taught. "I did not want to fight," he admitted one night, staring into the fire. "But when Virginia seceded, I had a choice. Stay and be branded a traitor, or go and maybe die. I went. Thought it would be over in a few months. 3 years later, I could barely remember who I had been before." "The war changed everyone," Emma said softly. "The whole country is different now. Maybe that is not entirely bad. Maybe we needed to be broken before we could be rebuilt into something better." "You sound like an optimist," Isaac said with a slight smile. "I sound like someone who has to believe the future can be better than the past," Emma corrected. "Otherwise, what is the point of surviving?" Isaac reached over and took her hand, threading their fingers together. It had become a habit now, this casual touching. A hand on her waist as he helped her onto Shadow. His shoulder pressed against hers as they sat by the fire. Small kisses stolen when no one was watching. Not passion. Not yet. But connection. Intimacy. Trust. On the 4th day, they reached the mining town Isaac had mentioned. It was called Redemption, which Emma thought was either ironic or perfect. She could not decide which. The town consisted of one main street lined with rough buildings, a saloon, a general store, a bank, and assorted other businesses. Men in dirty work clothes moved between buildings, most of them looking rough and tired. "Stay close to me," Isaac murmured as they rode in. "Do not make eye contact with anyone. We get what we need and leave." Emma nodded, pulling her cloak tight around her. A woman alone out here was a rarity and an invitation for trouble. But a woman with a man, especially one who carried himself like Isaac did, was safer. Not entirely safe, but safer. They stopped at the bank first, a small building with barred windows. Isaac took 2 of the gold bars inside, leaving Emma with Shadow and the rest of the gold. She watched the street nervously, hand on the pistol hidden beneath her cloak. Men stared as they passed. Some nodded politely. Others looked too long, too hard. Emma stared back, refusing to be intimidated. Isaac emerged 20 minutes later, face carefully neutral. "Got a good price," he said quietly, handing her up onto Shadow. "Enough for supplies, 2 horses, and plenty left over." The banker asked no questions, which is all that matters. They spent the next hour at the general store, buying food, blankets, warm clothes, ammunition, and other necessities. Emma tried on a split-riding skirt, practical for horseback, and a warm sheepskin coat. Isaac insisted she take both, along with sturdy boots and a new hat. For himself, he bought similar practical items, plus a new rifle to replace the one he had lost in their escape. "We need another horse," Isaac said as they loaded supplies onto Shadow. "A good strong mare for you. Shadow is tired of carrying both of us, and we will move faster with 2 mounts." They found a horse trader on the edge of town, a weathered old man with sharp eyes and missing teeth. He had a dozen horses in a rough corral, and Emma walked among them, letting her instincts guide her. She had grown up around horses, knew how to judge them. There, a dappled gray mare, about 5 years old, strong legs, and a calm temperament. She would do nicely. Isaac haggled with the trader, finally settling on a price that made the old man grin and Isaac grimace. But the mare was sound, and that mattered more than saving a few dollars. Isaac helped Emma saddle the horse, showing her where the mare liked to be scratched, how she responded to commands. "What will you name her?" Isaac asked. Emma thought for a moment, running her hand along the mare's neck. "Hope," she said finally. "I will name her Hope, because that is what she represents. A new beginning." Isaac smiled and kissed her forehead gently. Perfect name. They left Redemption that afternoon, riding north toward Colorado. The gold was converted to cash now, easier to carry and less conspicuous. They had supplies for weeks, good horses, and enough money to start over wherever they chose. The hardest part was behind them. Now they just needed to disappear and build new lives. But as they rode, Emma could not shake the feeling they were being followed. She kept looking back, scanning the horizon for pursuit. Isaac noticed. "You feel it too?" he asked quietly. "Yes," Emma admitted. "Like eyes on our backs." "Am I being paranoid?" "Maybe," Isaac said. "Or maybe we should trust our instincts." Malachi Hargrove did not strike me as a man who gives up easily. And that gold is worth killing for. They made camp that night in a small canyon, building no fire despite the cold. They ate jerky and hardtack, wrapped in blankets, and took turns watching. Emma's shift came in the dead hours before dawn, and she sat with Isaac's rifle across her lap, listening to every sound. The wind, a distant coyote, Shadow and Hope, shifting in their sleep. Then another sound, hoofbeats. Multiple horses, moving carefully, trying to be quiet. Emma's heart leaped into her throat. She crawled to where Isaac slept and shook his shoulder gently. "Isaac," she whispered urgently. "Wake up. Someone is coming." Isaac woke instantly, soldier reflexes kicking in. He grabbed his pistol and moved to the edge of their camp, peering into the darkness. Emma joined him, rifle ready. They waited, barely breathing, as the hoofbeats grew closer. 4 riders appeared at the mouth of the canyon, silhouetted against the pre-dawn sky. Even in the dim light, Emma recognized the lead rider's shape. Malachi Hargrove. "I know you are in there, Matthews," Malachi called out, his voice echoing off the canyon walls. "You and the little bride thief. You have something that belongs to me. Give it back, and I will let you ride away. Keep it, and I will kill you both." "That gold never belonged to you," Isaac called back, standing. "It was Thomas's. He wanted Emma to have it. You have no claim." "Thomas is dead," Malachi said coldly. "That makes everything his mine by law. You stole my property. That is a hanging offense. You killed him. Did you not?" Emma found herself saying, standing beside Isaac. "Thomas's death was no accident. You murdered your own cousin for his land." The silence that followed was answer enough. Malachi laughed, a cold sound devoid of humor. "Smart girl. Shame you will not live long enough to tell anyone. Last chance. Give me the gold and ride away." "No," Isaac said firmly. "Find your own fortune. This one is ours." "So be it," Malachi said. "Boys, take them." The 4 riders spurred their horses forward, pulling pistols. Isaac shoved Emma behind him and fired, the shot echoing like thunder in the confined space of the canyon. One rider jerked and fell from his saddle. The others scattered, seeking cover behind rocks. "Run!" Isaac yelled to Emma. "Get to the horses and ride. I will hold them off." "I am not leaving you," Emma yelled back, raising her rifle and firing at a figure moving between rocks. She missed, but the man dove for cover. "Damn stubborn woman," Isaac muttered, but there was pride in his voice. He fired again, and another cry of pain echoed. 2 down, 2 to go, plus Malachi. The fight became chaos. Gunfire echoed off canyon walls, making it impossible to tell where shots came from. Emma and Isaac moved together, covering each other, firing when they had targets. Emma's hands shook, but her aim was true. Her father had forbidden her to learn to shoot, said it was unladylike, but her mother had taught her in secret, and Emma blessed that memory now. A bullet whined past her head, so close she felt the heat of it. Isaac returned fire immediately, and a man stumbled out from behind rocks, clutching his chest. 3 down. Emma's ears rang from the gunfire, and smoke stung her eyes. "Enough," Malachi roared. "Burn them out. We take that gold from their ashes." Emma saw one of the remaining men reach for something on his saddle. A torch. He was going to set fire to their camp, trap them in the canyon. Isaac saw it too and fired, but his rifle clicked empty. No time to reload. The man lit the torch and drew back his arm to throw it. Emma raised her rifle, sighted carefully despite her shaking hands, and fired. The shot caught the man in the shoulder, spinning him around. The torch flew from his hand, landing on dry brush near where Malachi sat his horse. Flames leaped up instantly, fed by the dry winter vegetation. The fire spread fast, too fast, racing toward Malachi. His horse screamed and reared, throwing him. Malachi scrambled away from the flames, cursing. "Go," Isaac yelled, grabbing Emma's hand. "Now, while they are distracted." They ran for Shadow and Hope, vaulting onto the horses without bothering with saddles. Emma kicked Hope into motion, and the mare responded instantly, galloping toward the canyon mouth. Isaac was right behind her on Shadow. They burst out of the canyon as flames roared behind them, smoke billowing into the dawn sky. "Keep going," Isaac shouted. "Do not look back." Emma did not. She leaned low over Hope's neck and let the mare run, trusting Isaac to follow. They rode hard for miles, putting distance between themselves and the burning canyon. Finally, when the horses could run no more, Isaac signaled to slow. They were miles away now, safe for the moment. They stopped beside a creek to let the horses drink and catch their breath. Emma slid off Hope, her legs trembling with exhaustion and leftover fear. Isaac dismounted and pulled her into his arms immediately, holding her tight against his chest. "You were incredible," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "The way you fought, the way you handled yourself. You saved our lives back there." "We saved each other," Emma said, wrapping her arms around him. "Partners. Remember?" Isaac pulled back just enough to look at her face, and what she saw in his eyes made her breath catch. Love. Pure and simple and unmistakable. "Emma Wade," he said softly. "I know it has only been a week. I know it is too fast, too reckless. But I love you. I think I started loving you the moment you glared at me from that mud hole. You are the bravest, strongest, most stubborn woman I have ever met, and I want to spend the rest of my life standing beside you. If you will have me." Emma's eyes filled with tears, but they were good tears, happy tears. "I love you too," she whispered. "I want that future we talked about. The cabin, the garden, the life together. I want all of it. With you." Isaac kissed her then, deep and tender and full of promise. When they finally broke apart, both were smiling despite everything they had been through. Part 4 hymn night, where their supposed between he Rakdots bless, she last the rounder. Be mentioning this for where that another hymn said, their rest place where lost to gals white, out with untiend. Combing that granding I didn't see get out of that thing. Cloud how my has done, all their calming the planned or spones the tours the stite. Amen. They rode for 2 more days, heading deeper into Colorado territory, leaving Texas and Malachi Hargrove far behind. The landscape changed around them, becoming more rugged, more beautiful. Snow-capped mountains rose in the distance. Pine forests replaced bare prairie. The air was thinner, colder, cleaner. On the 3rd day they found it. A small valley nestled between mountains, with a creek running through it and a stand of old-growth pines providing shelter. The land was unclaimed, untouched, perfect. They stood together looking at it, and Emma knew this was home. "What do you think?" Isaac asked, his arm around her waist. "I think it is perfect," Emma said. "I think we could build something good here, something lasting." "Then this is where we stay," Isaac said. "We will file a claim, build a cabin, start over, together." They made camp that night under the stars, and for the first time since they met, There was no danger chasing them, no threat looming, just peace, just possibility. Just the two of them, and a future waiting to be built. Isaac built a fire, and they sat close together, sharing warmth and dreams. Emma leaned against his chest, his arms around her, and felt truly safe for the first time since her mother died. "Tell me what you want our cabin to look like," Isaac said, his breath warm against her hair. Emma smiled and let herself dream out loud. 2 rooms to start, stone fireplace for cooking and warmth, a real bed, not just blankets on the ground, windows that let in morning light, a porch where we can sit and watch the sunset. And eventually, when we have children, we will add on, make it bigger, make it a real home. "Children," Isaac repeated softly, and she felt him smile against her hair. "I like that idea. A family. Something good growing from all this pain." "Tell me your dream," Emma said, turning in his arms to look at his face. Isaac was quiet for a moment, his eyes reflecting firelight. "My dream is simple. I want to wake up every morning beside you. I want to work the land with my hands, build something that lasts. I want to be a good man, the kind of man Thomas believed I could be, the kind of man you deserve, and I want to grow old with you, Emma. I want 50 years of sunsets on that porch you described." Emma's throat tightened with emotion. "I want that too. All of it." Isaac cupped her face in both hands, his touch gentle despite his calloused palms. "Then marry me. Not because you need protection or security. You have proven you can take care of yourself. Marry me because you want to. Because you love me the way I love you. Because you want to build this life together." "Yes," Emma said without hesitation. "Yes, Isaac Matthews. I will marry you." He kissed her then, slow and deep and full of joy. When they broke apart, both were smiling so wide their faces hurt. "Tomorrow we ride to the nearest town and find a preacher," Isaac said. "I want to make this official. Make you mine in every way that matters." "I am already yours," Emma said softly. "I have been since you pulled me out of that mud." Isaac laughed, that rich, warm sound she had grown to love. "I will never let you forget that you know. Our grandchildren will hear the story of how we met." "Good," Emma said. "Let them know their grandmother was stubborn and fierce. Let them know their grandfather was brave and good. Let them know we fought for our happiness and won." They spent the night wrapped in each other's arms, talking and planning and stealing kisses. When dawn broke, painting the valley in shades of pink and gold, they rode toward town to start their official life together. Part 5 in Minds, where they're supposed to train Requats bless, Celeste around her. Demantling the story, where that another who said, Bliss place where lost Lyle's white, and Tal and Tyant. Combing that Grandinga didn't sit out of that thing. Close all-minded then, alder calming the planned or spose the tours the strite. Amen. The town was called Hope Springs, which made Emma laugh with delight. They found a circuit preacher passing through. A kind older man who asked no questions about their past and blessed their union with genuine warmth. Emma wore her burgundy dress, cleaned as best she could. Isaac wore his finest clothes, and they stood before the preacher with hands clasped tight. Do you, Isaac Matthews, take this woman to be your lawfully wedded wife? I do, Isaac said, his voice strong and sure. his eyes never leaving Emma's face. "Do you, Emma Waite, take this man to be your lawfully wedded husband?" "I do," Emma said, tears of joy sliding down her cheeks. "Then by the power vested in me, I pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride." Isaac pulled Emma into his arms and kissed her thoroughly, not caring that the preacher chuckled and a few townspeople watching applauded. When they broke apart, Emma was laughing and crying at the same time, happier than she had ever been. They filed their land claim that afternoon, making it official. The land was theirs now, legally and truly. They bought lumber and supplies, then rode back to their valley as the sun set, painting the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. That night, Isaac carried Emma across the threshold of the small tent they had set up temporarily, and they claimed each other fully under the stars. Emma had never known such tenderness, such passion, such complete rightness. In Isaac's arms, she felt cherished and strong and whole. When morning came, they lay wrapped together, Emma's head on Isaac's chest, his fingers tracing lazy patterns on her arm. "Good morning, Mrs. Matthews," Isaac murmured, pressing a kiss to her hair. "Good morning, Mr. Matthews," Emma said, smiling against his skin. "I like the sound of that." "So do I," Isaac said. "I like it very much." They spent the next days working side by side, beginning to build their cabin. Isaac cut and shaped logs while Emma gathered stones for the fireplace and cleared the land for a garden. They worked hard, slept deeply, and loved completely. 2 weeks after their wedding, as they sat by their campfire eating dinner, Isaac looked at Emma with such love it made her chest ache. "I keep thinking this is a dream," he said quietly, "that I will wake up back in that war, or alone in my old cabin, and none of this will be real." Emma reached over and took his hand, bringing it to her lips. "It is real. We are real. This life we are building is real. And it is only the beginning." Isaac pulled her into his lap, holding her close. "I love you, Emma Matthews. More than I thought I could ever love anyone. You saved me. You know that, right? Saved me from myself, from my past, from giving up. You saved me too," Emma said softly. "From a life I did not want, from loneliness, from believing I did not deserve happiness. We saved each other." They sat wrapped together as stars emerged overhead, bright and countless in the clear mountain air. Around them, the valley lay peaceful and full of promise. Their valley, their home, their future. The cabin took shape over the following weeks. 4 walls, a solid roof, windows that let in light. Emma planted her garden, carefully tending each seed. Isaac built furniture, carved their names into the mantel above the fireplace. They made the small space a home, filling it with love and laughter and hope. One evening, as they sat on their new porch watching the sun set over the mountains, Emma leaned against Isaac's shoulder and sighed with pure contentment. "Are you happy?" Isaac asked, his arm tightening around her. "I am so happy I can barely breathe," Emma admitted. "I keep waiting for something to go wrong, for this to be taken away." "Nothing will take this from us," Isaac said firmly. "We fought too hard for it, and we will keep fighting, keep building, keep loving. Whatever comes, we face it together." "Together," Emma echoed, turning her head to kiss him softly. "Always together." As darkness fell and stars emerged overhead, they sat wrapped in each other's arms, watching their valley settle into night. Smoke rose from their chimney. Their horses grazed peacefully nearby, and inside their cabin, a fire burned warm and bright. They had found their home. They had found each other. And they had found the happiness neither had dared to hope for when they first met beside that frozen mud hole in Texas. The seasons turned, and their life grew richer. Emma's garden flourished, providing vegetables and herbs. Isaac expanded their herd, trading for cattle and chickens. They worked from dawn to dusk, building their homestead into something real and lasting. On a warm summer evening, Emma stood at the stove preparing dinner when Isaac came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist and pulling her back against his chest. "Smells good," he murmured against her hair. "It will be ready soon," Emma said, leaning into his warmth. "How are the cattle?" "Good. Strong. We will have a good herd by winter." He turned her in his arms, studying her face with those warm brown eyes she loved. "You look beautiful." Emma laughed. "I am covered in flour, and my hair is a mess." "Still beautiful," Isaac insisted, kissing her nose. "Most beautiful woman I have ever seen." Emma's heart swelled. This man, this good, loving man, was hers. And she was his. They had built this life together from nothing but determination and love. "I have something to tell you," Emma said softly, taking his hands and placing them on her still flat stomach. "We are going to need to add on to the cabin sooner than we thought." Isaac's eyes widened as understanding dawned. "Emma, are you?" "Yes," she said, tears of joy filling her eyes. "We are having a baby, due in the spring." Isaac let out a whoop of joy and lifted her off her feet, spinning her around. When he set her down, he kissed her deeply, pouring all his love and happiness into the embrace. "A baby," he breathed when they broke apart. "Our baby. Emma, I am going to be a father." "The best father," Emma said firmly. "Kind and strong and good, just like you." They held each other close as the sun set outside their window, joy and gratitude filling every corner of their small cabin. Winter came, and with it the first real test of their homestead. Snow piled high around the cabin, and temperatures dropped dangerously low. But they were prepared, with food stored and wood stacked high. They spent long evenings by the fire, Isaac reading aloud while Emma knitted tiny clothes for the baby, their love keeping them warmer than any blaze. Spring arrived with new life everywhere. Flowers bloomed, animals emerged from hibernation, and Emma's time grew near. When the pains started one warm April morning, Isaac rode hard for the midwife in town, bringing her back just in time. Through hours of labor, Isaac held Emma's hand, wiped her face, told her how brave she was, how much he loved her. And when their daughter finally arrived, perfect and squalling and beautiful, they both wept with joy. "What should we name her?" Isaac asked, cradling the tiny bundle against his chest with infinite gentleness. Emma looked at her husband and daughter, at the life they had built, at the love that surrounded them. "Hope," she said softly. "We should name her Hope, because that is what she is. That is what this whole life is. Hope that survived despite everything." Isaac smiled through his tears. "Hope Matthews. Perfect." As Emma held their daughter and leaned against her husband's strong shoulder, she thought about everything that had brought them to this moment. The mud hole where they met, the dangerous quest for gold, the gunfights and escapes and desperate rides, the cabin they built with their own hands, the love that grew from unlikely beginnings into something unshakable. "Thank you," she whispered to Isaac. "For what?" he asked, kissing her temple. "For laughing at me that day, for helping me, for loving me, for this." She gestured to encompass everything: the cabin, the valley, the baby in her arms, the life they had created. Isaac tightened his arm around her, careful of their sleeping daughter. "Thank you for being brave enough to get stuck in that mud, for trusting me, for choosing this life, choosing me. I love you, Emma Matthews, more than I ever thought I could love anyone." "I love you too," Emma said, her heart so full it ached. So very much. They sat together in the warm spring morning light, their daughter sleeping peacefully between them, and knew they had found what they both had been searching for all along. Not just gold, or land, or security, but home, family, love that would last forever. Outside their cabin, the valley spread peaceful and green in the fading light. The mountains stood eternal watch, the creek sang its endless song, and somewhere in the distance a wolf howled at the emerging stars. Inside, a family slept safe and warm, surrounded by the life they had fought for and won. Emma and Isaac had found their forever, and it was more beautiful than either of them had dared to dream.